In a word, ouch. The biggest defeat in the history of the Blue Monday podcast. It was Ipswich 0, Manchester City 6. Welcome to Blue Monday, an Ipswich Town podcast. Oh, Dave. Deary me. We were talking about the previous, but we think, and the guys in the comments will let us know, the previous biggest defeat in podcast history, was a 5-1 defeat at Reading that would have been the first season of the show, Dave.
It was very first weeks of the show, I think, because I remember you came round here and we watched it round here, I think, on a Friday evening, and us three were struggling to think of the guy who scored the hat trick, but Rich had it, didn't he? Orlando Sal. So I think it was, yeah. What can I say about today? A bit of a chastening experience, I would say. But as we said in the green room, there were some good players on view today, and some good players that played at a very, very, very high level. To be fair,
Joe, I think the first part of this conversation and it's probably even more important than talking about the game, is talking about the potential impact of such a battering and how to avoid the biggest downside of the potential impact of such a battering. Welcome, Joe.
I think the fans in the ground have done as much of that as they can do so far, because ultimately you don't want to be losing 6-0 and walking out to an empty stadium when you've done so much to get into this position. And I thought the reception from the North Stand was fantastic when you saw the players go there. Yeah, they were less in numbers, but they weren't less in noise by the end, and the sort of big chance of Blue Army. And I remember sort of being at Hull last season on that Saturday night up there after we'd drawn 3-3, and you see the players sort of slouching over there with slumped shoulders, and the sort of big chance of Blue Army got the crowd going up, and we are going up, and you can see it lifted the players. And I'm hoping, I wasn't in the North Stand, so I couldn't see if they did, but I'm sure that reception they were given by the crowd at the end there lifted them, and you hope that they go away from this obviously incredibly disappointed, frustrated, upset with the defeat, but knowing that the fan base is still 100% behind them all.
Yeah, 100%. Dave?
No, it was amazing, yeah, and it went right round the ground as well. I mean, I walked out with Kieran, my young son, and my younger son was just walking in, as we go around, walking out the front of the West Stand to get out the back of the stand, and as the players came, and obviously there's a good few had gone, but they got brilliant reception to a man. So yeah, that was really good to see that.
Big thank you to Gary in the chat there. I think he's paying us £10 danger money on the super chat here to be doing a podcast just mere hours after a 6-0 defeat.
Perhaps that covers the swear box, Ben.
Yeah, right. I'm sure you're going to be opening the swear box later on. Joe, we've seen promoted teams or even teams that just get relegated have big defeats like this and then repeat big defeats. So, I'm just raising what Sheffield United did last year, where the home games started to all get very, very loose. We're not in that camp here, are we? What can we do to make sure this is an outlier at Portman Road, despite the fact it's Liverpool away next? Talk about the home games when you answer that.
Well, our next home game is Southampton, isn't it? So we know exactly what's needed. And I'm sure if you spoke to every Ipswich Town fan and said, look, we'll lose to Man City, lose to Liverpool and beat Southampton, then you would, every single one would have bit your hand off of that in a millisecond, that sort of focus of results. But the problem is that focus of results does mean you've got to lose today, lose next Saturday, and then there's massive, massive pressure on that next home game against Southampton. And the crowd have got to be there. They've got to be up for it. They've got to be treating it like a game that we're not going to turn up and just roll over Southampton. They're not yes, they've only got 6 points, but they're not an awful side. We saw that last season. So it's just, I know it's the cliche stuff that Kieran McKenna will be saying, but everyone's just got to stay with us and try and get it over the line. And today isn't a result that will define our season, but it's just a really, really tough game. But I sat here on this Sunday night after the Bournemouth game, and that was much, much worse than that, like an absolute gut punch to the stomach. I guess probably because I had an hour during the game to get over the defeat, because once it went 2-0, it was game over, wasn't it? Where that was much worse than today was. But yeah, no, it was really, really tough.
Dave, I've been railing against our resident stats guy in the Telegram, Chris. He's been saying all season, no one gets relegated on goal difference. Goal difference is irrelevant. And I've been like, I don't know that. So I'm hoping Chris is right now and goal difference is irrelevant. But Dave, I wanted to you've been doing the Rewind show with Craig, and it's come up the topic of conversation how a 6-0 defeat against Liverpool really knocked the stuffing out of a team that was far more chaotic. I think even George Burley would admit the situation was far more chaotic then than now. But is there any... I want to try and get all the bad news out of the way first and for you to Lee's theory. Yeah, but any comparison there at all?
A little, I think. I mean, don't forget, prior to that Liverpool game back in 2002, I think we'd won our previous 8 out of 9. And I think the only defeat in that run was, I think, against Charlton, wasn't it? Then that's a game we should have won. So yeah, talk about derailed. Yeah, because I think there were 16 games left. We won 2, drew 2, and I think lost 12 or something like that.
And who was the next game after that?
I think it was Southampton and the Chris Marsden Lionel Messi game, wasn't it? So yeah, there are sort of similarities there, but no, I think the narrative's slightly different this time. I think. Look, we are in a division now of 4, as we all thought we perhaps would be. We're in a division perhaps of 4. You know, we need to finish above Leicester and Wolves if we can. And look, we'll have done it. Southampton, you would think, have gone. We finish above Leicester and Wolves, job done. But yeah, it's just tough after a defeat like that today. It's just tough to describe, really, isn't it?
It really, really is. Guys, welcome to Blue Monday and Ipswich Town podcast. If you're here live in the chat, we really, really appreciate you being here. We get and we understand that there's going to be frustration, there's going to be anger, there's going to be disappointment, there's going to be lashing out. We respect everybody's free speech rights in the chat to cope how you like, but try and keep it calm and try not let others cope how they like as well. And we'll not tell you what to think, and we'll try and hopefully keep the chat nice and calm and a good place to be. I normally say, if you're listening after the fact, we appreciate the hell out of you. Why don't you come straight after the game live on YouTube? I won't say that today. I think maybe letting it breathe a little while might be the best thing after a 6-0 defeat. But here we go then, boys. So it was Ipswich Town versus reigning champions, and as Kieran McKenna described them in the build-up, the best team in the world for the last 10 years, I think were McKenna's words. Joe, your Ipswich 11 is Christian Walton, Cameron Burgess, Dara O'Shea, Ben Godfrey, Ben Johnson, Leif Davis, Sam Morsey, Jens Kayust, Amari Hutchison, Jack Clark, and Liam Delap. Why did he pick that 11, Joe?
I guess it's probably to do with the short turnaround between the games. We played Thursday night when Man City played Tuesday, and then we had to sort of go from Thursday night to Sunday afternoon. So it was a really, really tough one. But I was surprised to see so many changes. There was 5 changes in the team, and obviously we all expected Sam Morsey to come back into the team. We probably all thought Ben Godfrey would come in, but to sort of change Jacob Greaves to Cameron Burgess, Wes Burns, who played well the other night, for Ben Johnson. Again, we don't always know the ins and outs and the fitness levels of the players, but it did seem it was one of those teams that you saw and thought, bloody hell, that isn't what I was expecting to see today.
Do you agree with that, Dave?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, obviously set up quite defensively, ironically, quite defensively, similarly on that right side, which ultimately was going to be our sort of Achilles heel, particularly in the first half and in the second half for one of the goals. So yeah, perhaps two changes more than I expected, perhaps.
Okay, here is your Manchester City 11. It's Edison in goal, Gvardiol and Nunez, Diaz and Akanji, Gundogan, Kovacic, Foden, Doku, De Bruyne, Haaland, Dave.
Yeah, Haaland on the back. Well, I suppose we have to mention it on the back of this 9.5-year bumper bumper contract.
Yeah, good luck to him, eh?
Well, mate, if you can get it, absolutely.
Nice work, eh?
Yeah, I must admit, I did a Man City pod. I think Joe knows the guy, the 93-20 pod on Friday evening, and he was bemoaning the fact. He said, "Oh yeah, but we can be got at." He said, midfield, it's an aging midfield, De Bruyne, and Gundogan. Well, he's all right in possession, but his legs have gone. You think, what? I haven't seen what I saw today. So yeah, looking at the side, it's just class right throughout the side. Kovacic has stepped in. I say not almost seemingly for Rodriguez. Rodriguez, bloody Ballon d'Or holder, but Christ Almighty, yeah, decent. And I mean, Doku was just. I know you hate that word, Ben. At times, slightly sort of unplayable. All right, I know we did give him perhaps the freedom of Portman Road, perhaps slightly in the first half, but yeah, it's just class right through the side, class and experience right through the side.
Joe, they've been struggling. It's probably fair to say it's not your normal kind of run into a game against Man City, is it?
No, but they sort of won the game before last, but then they were 2-0 up against Brentford and sort of managed to throw that away in the last 5 or 10 minutes. So it's one of those ones. It's like, had they, as Kieran McKenna said after the Brighton game on Thursday, he said had they sort of held on against Brentford, which they will do 99 times out of 100 to a 2-0 lead with 5 minutes left, everyone would be saying, Man City are back. They're right back at it. And I think as we saw today, they were. But then when you look at how the game played out, the first sort of 25 minutes were pretty even. It's a pretty even game. They had chances. We had chances, a couple of decent headers from set pieces. Amari Hutchinson has a shot which flicks defender and goes over. Obviously, O'Shea then has a free header from the corner, but it goes straight at Ederson. But on the flip side, Haaland has a one-on-one. And it's just, you see these games, you think, whoever scores the first goal is going to be very, very important in this game. And if it's not us, we're going to be in big trouble. And that's sort of how it turned out to be.
Yeah, annoyingly, Hutchinson's effort flicked over off Haaland.
Yeah, I think he kind of deliberately eyebrows it over the bar, didn't he? I think it was a fairly decent bit of defending from a physical specimen. But anyway, right, we've got 6 goals to do, guys. Don't make this too painful, for God's sake. Dave, Phil Foden with the opener on 27.
This might be a bit of a recurring theme. Doku gets the ball on the left. Which is God. I had to refresh. I had to look at these, and because obviously there's 6. I mean, he gets the ball on the left, sort of slides in. Again, another recurring theme. Slides in De Bruyne to the byline. Quite good play. De Bruyne has got time to sort of like get the ball onto his right foot, chips it across. Oh, this is not great defending, because Foden's only 6 yards out and he's allowed to get a touch spin and just poke it past.
Dave, he does that in about 0.3 of a second.
Well, good point. Yeah, it's instant. Obviously, the first touch is brilliant. I mean, it's not,
and De Bruyne's first touch to get it under control.
It's all through the game. I mean, it's not up to, and the weight of the pass, Joe's right. It's not driven in. It's just chipped into him. One touch, turn, bang, 1-0. Quite simple. When you look at it, you think, could we do more? Arguably, again from our right side there, but it was just clinical, really.
Second one, Joe, is a really good strike by Kovacic, isn't it?
It is, but I think I personally thought it was one that was just a bit too easy for them. That effectively we
bit too deep and funneled.
We got caught playing up the pitch, and Doku, who had a lot of space on the left, but when you watch the game from behind the goal, he has to be in space because he's just a spare player standing 40 yards from where play was. You can't mark him in the game, but you've got to make sure you get to him quickly when he gets the ball. And he gets the ball, and Ben Johnson doesn't really get across quickly. And by the time he gets across, he's just struggling and just turns back inside. And it's just a relatively simple ball into, is it Foden? And Foden just takes a touch and rolls it to Kovacic, who drives it home. But he just gets too much. Doku has just too much time on it. When you get you can leave him to be spare, but you've got to engage him when he gets there.
3-0, Dave, whatever, De Bruyne, Foden.
Doku. I don't know, was Doku this time? Yes, it was again. Yeah, sets up De Bruyne. This time he cuts it back when he's left foot from the byline. Should Walton do better again?
Yes.
Foden's only about 6 yards out, but I think he should do better. He's not blasted at him, but it just goes through him, doesn't it? And it sort of like creeps in. Yeah.
Is it shell shock at that point though, Dave, where you conceded
possibly,
3 goals?
I mean, then his reaction to the goal was obviously to get up and berate berate whoever, So I think he realised that perhaps he could have done a bit better with that one. I think possibly looking back at the 6 goals, that was probably the only one that he perhaps would be disappointed with.
And it was the worst one to concede because whilst it was 2-0, I'm not saying we had much chance of getting back into it, but effectively it went 1-0, and the second goal happened too quickly afterwards, which has happened to us enough times this season. But we'd sort of got back into the game and whilst not pushing forward, we were in a position where see that through to half time, try and come out and try and do something a little bit different. If you get the first goal of the second half, you've got a chance, but it's just a pretty poor goal. And like I say, Walter just gets down. I'm at the other end. It looked like he saved it. It looked like he saved it. And then all of a sudden,
half
and then Foden gets up and goes. It's like, that's 2 goals this week that have just gone, or in 4 days, that have just gone through you. And you can't afford to do that. And then whilst we thought it was game over, it was game over. But that was sort of 14 minutes after the second goal to that one. And you think, you're nearly there. You're nearly at half time. That came out of absolutely nothing. That just dragged there. This time, I think it was O'Shea who gets pulled up and tries to win the ball in midfield and just loses the ball, and then all of a sudden we're just dragged around.
And Dave, when you get to the kind of halftime analysis, Joe's totally right, because 2-0 to 3-0, okay, against quote the best team in the world for the last 10 years. It's only 1 goal, but it's such a big difference, because then you go into that second half and what can you do really? You can't just sit there and, try and lose the game 3-0 and just everybody go home. If you attack them, you're in danger of losing 6-0. If you get the approach wrong, what's the kind of feeling at half time at 3-0 down?
Well, you've almost got to say, look, this. What does he say? Look, this could run away with this. We're almost playing for pride at that point. 3-0.
That doesn't sound like his style, Dave, does it?
That doesn't sound like his style at all. So I suppose, it's all about keeping your shape, keep discipline, keep your shape. Let's try and play. And to be fair, we came out second half, and it was really. I think that was just before they scored the 4th, and Johnson has the chance. Joe, was that
a glorious 4 minutes, Dave?
It was I think it was a really
play.
good
Yeah,
really
Delap
good.
holds the ball up, doesn't
Brilliant.
he? And rolls to
Hutchinson.
Hutchinson sort of nips inside and drags people with them and plays it straight out to Johnson. And Johnson takes a touch. It's a good strike at goal, but it's a good.
I haven't
good
seen
save.
it back. Seemed like a good save. I haven't seen.
Yeah,
it
it seemed
back.
like a good
Seemed
save,
but then
I just think that save that
within a
3-0.
Within a minute, balls in our net. Doku gets a ball wide left.
Bloody Doku.
Honestly, he's
one for the swear jar. Piss off, Doku.
If you looked in the Oxford English Dictionary, the definition of tricky winger would be Doku definition tricky winger. He just cuts inside past Godfrey. Takes it into the box on an angle, and he gets a bit lucky because I think perhaps Walton saves this, but it gets a deflection off. I think it's off O'Shea, isn't it, Joe, and just takes it into the far corner. To be fair to Doku, he probably deserved the goal, to be fair, but yeah.
It's one of those weird deflections, Joe, where it doesn't take it away from the keeper, but it flipped it up in the air, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a horrible one.
It just takes it in the goal, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you can charge Walton with that one, I don't think.
Okay, well, it's 8 minutes before the next goal, and here he comes, Erling Haaland, Joe.
Jack Clark sort of picks up the ball in the left-hand position.
Right, can I do a crap for this one? Yeah?
I think it needs it.
Crap!
And he just, so he sort of, he does well to hold on the ball.
I love Jack Clark, Joe, sorry, I don't know what people
skips a challenge and then sort of drives inside and then realises he's got to go back with it and tries to play the ball square, but he plays it to, I'm not sure who it goes to, Dave. Can you help me out?
Carry on, Joe.
It's Doc.
We're going to get in trouble now for making light of a 6-0 defeat.
Then Doco drives forward and Haaland just runs off Burgess. And when the ball's played to him, Haaland, it's just like he accelerates into it, and the pace he moves at when you see it. And then
it is
he seems to do a finish where rather than lift the ball over the keeper, he just bangs it into the ground, so it just flicks up over Walton. And you think,
the Özil shot, yeah,
it all looks very deliberate, and it's just 5-0 at that point, and you're like, bloody hell, this game. Well, we knew it was gone at 2-0, but at 3-0 it was definitely gone, and now it's 5-0, and you're just thinking, bloody hell, how much worse can this get? Because there's still a long time left after this. What's this, 56? Is it?
57. Here come Jack Grealish, Divin Mubama, and James McAtee. But more importantly, here comes Jaden Philogene Axel Tuanzebe and Massimo Luongo. It's lovely to see Massimo, but what about the other two, Dave?
Yeah, brilliant to see Tuanzebe back, and yeah, obviously the protracted signing of Philogene. Obviously, McKenna finally got his man over the line late last week. No, it was good to see him, and to be fair, not that we had a lot of the ball in the last sort of left 25 minutes. Not that we had a great deal of the ball, but when he did and got on the ball, he looked quite sharp, tidy. Looks like obviously looks like a good player. Tough to really say at that stage, but probably the last goal this is still Christ. There's still 20 odd minutes to go on 69. It's just a bit of class from.
It's a good goal, actually. Yeah, this is one where you can say, yeah, okay, well played.
Sorry,
fine.
what a ball! It just drifts it, and he's on an angle about 20 yards out, and just beautiful chip. Just basically takes out Burgess, drifts it over
Kovacic,
Burgess.
yeah.
Kovacic, and a really clever finish from McAtee. Obviously, hasn't been on that long. Just sort of helps it on, and again, that's not down to Walton. He's probably in a good position. He's just stranded. It's just a really clever header from McAtee that takes it over him.
I don't think he ends up in a good position, to be fair, because he's just standing.
Sorry,
I don't think he ends up in a good position because he's just standing in absolute no man's land as a
Well,
ball.
He gets done by the.
He gets done by the flight. He gets done
Yeah.
by the flight, but it's a beautiful pass, to be fair, beautiful chip and a clever finish from McAtee. So yeah, I mean that's on 69 minutes. You think, shit, there's still effectively could be it's 25 minutes left in this. You think at that point, okay, look, they obviously brought the subs on, but at that point you think, my God, this could be really, really nasty. But yeah, then after that, really, they just kept the ball really for 20 minutes, didn't they?
Did they do that thing, Joe, where professional teams kind of stop at 5-6, don't they? And
I think they stopped at 4 and still managed to get 2 more.
I think they did. They were a bonus to them, yeah.
But no, I looked at the scoreboard, expected to be like 88, and I looked at like 68, and I was like, oh God, this could be anything here. But I'd honestly say, as much as we've had some gut punches over the years and that, I can't remember the as feeling as bad at Portman Road as that for as prolonged period where you're just sitting there watching them pass the ball around you and you're 6-0 down and you move from there. It was like soul destroying seeing how.
Can we just say, Joe? Can you just throw in all of the caveats? This is not the fault of our manager and our players. This is a League One team 2 years ago against a team that's won the Premier League 5 times in 4 years and has had more money spent on the team than any football team ever.
Oh yeah, no, it's not a criticism of the manager or the players. And ultimately, I've said on this pod numerous times over the last few months, we need everything to go our way. And today, everything going our way is Amari Hudson's shot flying into the top corner, Darrow Shea's header going into the goal, them hitting a post rather than scoring the first
Haaland
goal.
Gets red carded, De Bruyne gets red carded.
Their confidence being sapped out of them, and there was a route to victory for us today, but it was threading the eye of a needle, and it was always very, very unlikely when you look at it. I think we were 6-1 to win at the bookies, and if you're 6-1 to win a game, you need every single little break to go your way, and we didn't play well enough. It's not making excuses for the players. In the first goal, we don't get tight enough to Doku. Second goal, again, Doku's got too much space. Third goal, Darrow Shea loses the ball on the halfway line. It goes under Christian Walton. So that there are learning moments for us in this. So it's not a case of we just need some luck, and if we had some luck, we'd have won it. No, we needed to play very, very well and get some luck, and we didn't play well. There's probably not a huge amount of players on that pitch who can come off knowing that they've played well. So that's a big issue. So it's just looking for the positives you can take from it. I'd say probably the crowd at the end in the North Stand. And I thought Jaden Philogene looked really sharp on the ball. He looks a lovely player. I think he might be one that's of an Amari Hutchison type level and type style player to play on in the other 10 role, and we've relied very, very heavily on Amari Hutchison to be able to drive us up the pitch and take us up the pitch and do that. And it looks like we may have another player who can do that on the other side. But yeah, no, it was a game to try and quickly move on from.
I think Tuanzebe getting some minutes as well, getting back, you're getting on the pitch.
Well, and Hurst again, more minutes, Joe.
Yeah. Like I say, you are in a way. It does feel like you're scraping the barrel for positives, but what else can you do after a 6-0 defeat against the best team in the world, the 4-time Premier League champions, the European champions, world champions? They're a fantastic team, and they are missing Rodri, but when Rodri's there to stop transitions, but when they are in the position they're in, when they're 3, 4, 5, 6-0 up, you don't need someone to stop your transitions, do you? So it's all those attacking players. You're bringing on Jack Grealish for a £100 million signing off the bench just to help, I don't know, not even see the game out. He's there. That's more than we've spent in the last sort of 20 years on one player there. Erling Haaland probably earns more a week than every single player in our squad does in that week. So you're hoping for a miracle, and a lot of teams have managed to get these miracles against Man City over the last few weeks, but we weren't going to get one as soon as that second goal went in. It just killed us, and it's a chasing one to take. But as a club, as a squad, and a management team, we've been very good at doing the one game at a time. Forget the last game, we're on to the next game, and it's going to be very important that we do that over this one and the Liverpool game next week.
So, Dave, you both already mentioned the fans getting behind their team at the end in spite of the heinous, horrible, filthy result. Are we being a bit wet, thinking that's going to be significant? So, will that actually have really picked the players up?
I don't know whether players even noticed it. I didn't notice this, as someone just said in the chat, how absolutely fuming mad that Morsey was afterwards. I mean, obviously you would be your professional pride, no matter who you're playing, after a 6-0, especially at home, after a 6-0 defeat. What that was about, I don't know. Whether it was just a general thing, and the performance, I don't know. But
sometimes, Dave, it can be performative, can't it? It can be
absolutely right.
Be messaging to the fans and the other players. And
it's and again, as someone else said in the chat, we just got overran in midfield. They were just class, just absolutely too big. And to be fair, Morsey wasn't great today. That's probably Kiyuste's poorest game I've seen him have.
Poorest game since Thursday, sadly, isn't it?
What's that mean? Sorry, Joe?
Poorest game since Thursday.
Really, well, yeah, again. And I think I know we made loads of changes, but I think that had a slight bearing of it, that we only had 4 days to prepare for this one. Obviously, City had played had 2 more days to prepare, so obviously that helps. And again, another comment probably after the 6th goal, almost with 20 minutes to go. Don't forget, City are playing PSG on this coming Wednesday, so they've probably got a bit of one eye on that as well.
Comment.
Yeah, big game. So. Yeah, look, as Joe quite rightly said, we weren't really at the races today, and you really needed to be against them, and they were just at a totally different level altogether.
Right. In a minute, I'm going to press a button here that says Atwells. Once I've pressed that, I don't want to hear about Pep. I don't want to hear about effing Doku. I don't want to hear about De Bruyne. I don't want to hear about Haaland. We've played him twice. Get lost, you lot, and hopefully we'll see you next season. Here's a word from our friends at Atwells. Oh, Joe, come in.
Just quickly, there's a couple of comments about sort of Amari Hudson not playing that well, but I think McKenna did note in his press conference after the game that we've maybe had to rush him back a little bit because we've needed him in there. So, like I say, you can't criticise the players too much on this one. He's back there trying and struggling through, and we're hoping we've got that week run into Liverpool, then another clear week to Southampton. So it is a case of just trying to get the squad back on an even keel after a lot of injuries we've had over the last few weeks. And as we know, we are electric from middle of February onwards under Kieran McKenna.
And who knows in that, and also Joe in that time.
Dave, he's going to start his tub thumping thing now. He's going to have us believing that this was a good result in the next half hour.
I was just checking out the Europa Conference League places.
and who knows in that period, that 2-week period, chances are we might have two more players, as Jim Agilton would say, in the building.
There you go. Right, I'm pressing the Atwells button. See you later, Doku.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwells Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Right, thank you to the fine people at Atwells, and also just beneath Joe there. I don't know, they kind of swapped places today, haven't they? One stop badges as well. You can get your discount over one stop all the way over there. I'll put them back the other way, Rich. God, Dave, there you go. Joe's pointing in the right spot. There you go. You're missing out if you're not watching this brilliant action here on YouTube. The discount is down there in the description. We will be back. We should be bringing back the Premier League predictions. I think we've given Mikey enough grace. He should be back full-time now and never have to worry about his newborn baby ever again and can come back to do the prediction show. So hopefully we'll get that back online for you this week. Is there rewind for Liverpool, Dave?
It certainly was. Recorded in the can this morning.
Brilliant stuff. So that's going to come out, we think, on Friday, pre-match on Thursday. And can we just send all our love to our friend and our colleague, Craig? Some difficult news for Craig very recently. I'm sure he'd appreciate your good wishes. And if we can dedicate this pod to him, if that does any help whatsoever, then we are very, very much happy to do that. We'll be back on Sunday for the flagship after Liverpool. There we go. We'll hopefully have a bit more fun with that one. Let's go to our Premier League roundup in association with Innovation Labs. Yeah, busy week in the Premier League. A rare old 3-game week. We do still have significantly Wolverhampton Wanderers, who, as Dave has mentioned, is kind of that's the real quiz. Doesn't matter if you lose 6-0 as long as Wolves lose as well. How about that? If Chris Rand is right that goal difference doesn't matter. If you can pick something out here, lads, to talk about, preferably someone picked Wolves and someone picked Leicester. Newcastle 1, Bournemouth 4. What about that, hey? Brentford 0, Liverpool 2, our opponents next week. Leicester 0, Fulham 2. Leicester are terrible. What can I talk about when we lost 6-0? But Leicester are on a really, really bad run, which is helpful. West Ham 0, Palace 2. Palace aren't terrible. Arsenal 2, Villa 2. Everton 3, Spurs 2 is unhelpful, to say the least.
Very unhelpful.
Bloody Moyes. We said Rooney, yes. Moyes, no. Bad idea. Rooney, we were behind. Man United 1, Brighton 3. Joe's still going to be tipping Man United up for being our relegation rivals. Up the Forest, hey, living the dream at the top of the table there. I think they're tied with Arsenal now on the same amount of points. Forest 3, Southampton 2. And yeah, there's our result at the bottom there. And mighty importantly, I know the goal difference has swang, as I would say if I'm from Suffolk, massively against us now. In fact, we are 6 behind Wolves on the goal difference, but we are still tied on points and could really do with a Chelsea win tomorrow night. Anything, Dave, you want to pick out of that little lot, matey?
I saw a bit of it live. Bournemouth looked really good at Newcastle. Crikey, really, really good. Also heard Van Nistelrooy's sort of post comments about Leicester, and yeah, very despondent. Obviously, their 7th defeat on the trot, and he was bemoaning.
7th league defeat, is that?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Well,
they won in the cup. They won in the cup, didn't they?
Right.
So
okay.
yeah, I think they had a little bit of a upturn when he first joined. Might have got
4 points.
Win and a draw. Yeah, I think they did. But 7th defeat on the trot. So yeah, not going well there, and he was very, very downcast. So yeah, watch this space there. And again, not really to affect us. Just Arsenal again throwing 2-goal lead away to Villa. So really played into Liverpool's hands.
Joe, anything in terms of affecting us?
Yeah, that Everton win today was a real kick in the teeth. And obviously David Moyes has gone in their first home game under him back at Goodison Park. And Spurs started the game really well, as they do.
I think they did play at home in midweek, Joe, under Moyes.
I thought they, against Villa, was that at home, was it?
I think so, wasn't it? I could be wrong about that.
Well, they played Spurs at home. They were Spurs a better team for the first 10 minutes, and then a little bit later they're 3-0 down, as Spurs seem to do. And then they got it back to 3-2, but just, they were poor, weren't they? So the simple calculation for the rest of the season is we've got to get one more point than Wolves in the next 18 games.
I love that reframe, Joe. That's great.
And if we do, we stay up. And so I don't think Leicester will catch us, and I think Everton is still there to be shot at. But it's just, I think David Moyes is a very experienced manager. But yeah, 1 point more than Wolves is all we need.
Yeah, he's right. I like that. Yeah, it's 18 points to 18 games, as you say, to score 1 point more than Wolves and hope that Leicester don't have a great run. I realise I'm just repeating exactly what you just said, Joe, but I hadn't thought about it like that. And it's kind of a good way. Right, guys, let's do some questions, shall we? Get your questions in via the chat. Stick a Q before and a question mark afterwards. As you can imagine, any questions about Doku will not be answered, and we will be issuing 5-minute sin bins and bans for anyone who mentions that name. We don't want to be hearing about him for sure. Just quickly, Joe, they had since we last spoke, they had the deadline pass for the Premier League charging anybody for FFP infractions. We wondered whether Leicester would be breaching there, but they don't appear to have.
No, Leicester. It's impossible for Leicester to actually breach anything. It seems they could.
Careful now.
Yeah, they could walk down and just drop £100 million cash on the Premier League's desk that they say they've picked up from a cash point, and they'd be okay with it, I think.
Yeah, could have been a little bonus, but as you say, the real quiz is Wolves. Could anyone sign Cunha, Dave? That'd be really helpful.
Arsenal have been linked with him, haven't they?
That would be really
Come on,
helpful.
Arsenal. You need Arsenal have Jesus injured for the season, Dave.
They do, yeah. Arsenal need Cunha, I think. So yeah, come on, Arteta, get cracking, mate. Come on.
Get your checkbook out. Cunha to Arsenal. That's I'm certainly a very big advocate of. Well, him signing, frankly, anywhere. Well, other than like Leicester, but anywhere in the world, other than Wolves.
Would be helpful.
Joe, are we going to? Michael asks, new manager at Leicester soon. Are they going to do this? Why would you get rid of Steve Cooper? I don't know. I like Steve Cooper, but they go. We're going to have a 3-manager season, which normally ends up in relegation.
From the sounds of things, Ruud van Nistelrooy is on a fantastic contract at Leicester because, for whatever reason, they really felt the need to try and get him in because he'd won 2 games as Man United's caretaker manager. So that's the greatest thing you could possibly do, and they've got him in, and they're obviously, as we know, pushed right hard up against any PSR limits. So can they afford to sack him? I'd say probably not. They just don't. The squad is short, isn't it? Ultimately, like as good as Jamie Vardy's been, and he's been a fantastic Premier League striker, you can't have a 38-year-old striker leading the line for you in the Premier League and Jordan Ayew backing him up and expect to get anywhere.
Norman, in recent weeks, Morsey has looked, I'll just say leggy. Do you think, irrespective of which league we are in, we will have a more athletic midfield for next season? And obviously, any conversation about Sam Morsey is with the caveat he has been a wonderful player and captain.
Yeah, I think it's starting to. He has looked a bit leggy, and he has started, and it's quite right. Athletic is the great word there. These the midfields were up. Even against Brighton, they had the guy number 20, Beluva, was an absolute giant, but again, athletic.
Oh, he's really
big,
good,
strong, really good. Yeah, and he has. Yeah, you wouldn't expect him to be. He hasn't been half so effective. So yeah, that certainly wouldn't surprise me next season. You would hope if we managed to stay up that perhaps we'd be in a position this point. I know we would be in a position to sign Karius, because I know he wasn't very good against Brighton, and he wasn't obviously very good again today. But yeah, I think he's a player that could. I've been really impressed with him. I think he's certainly a player for the future for us if we stay up. But I wouldn't expect Morsey to be playing there regularly next season. Certainly if we stay up.
No. Can you get Karius if you go down, Joe?
I'm not sure, Joe.
I think it'd be quite difficult. I think it'd be quite a difficult deal. So I think there's an obligation if he stays up. But we signed Calvin Phillips to be a main man at this level, and he's not, is he? And that's an area of recruitment that it hasn't worked. And when you look at it, there you got Calvin Phillips, who we're not going to be able to afford. We're either not going to be able to afford to sign him next season, or we're not going to want to sign him. He's either going to be so good that we can't get him, or not good enough to be worth getting him. Sam Morsey's going to be 35 there. Massimo Luongo, who's a bit part player. Jack Taylor's done okay, and Jens Karius, who there'll be an obligation on. So that is whatever happens at the end of the season. That is going to be an area which has a huge overhaul. That's
Joe, can I go
to look at?
Can I go to Martin's question then? Is an upgrade in midfield the most pressing issue? Are you talking about that being a now conversation or a summer conversation? I assume the Karius and Phillips are locked in. Nothing's going to be happening there in January.
I don't see how we can upgrade the midfield this window, whether people think we need to or not. I've been on record here saying that I think that the money we're spending on Calvin Phillips, if there was any way we could get out of spending however much that's costing and getting someone else in, I'm sure we would do. And I'm sure Mark Ashton and Kieran McKenna feel the same, that if you're spending £100,000+ a week on him and he's a sub, then it's not a great use of resource. But obviously there isn't anything that can be done on that. So yeah, I think we're going to be where we are and riding with what we've got. But if we could upgrade it, I'm sure we would like to, but I don't see how.
Well, is there a case for playing 3 in there now?
It's come up so many weeks, Dave, hasn't it? Yeah.
But then where does that other one come from?
Well, you play at the moment. You play Coyote, Morsey, and Phillips. There's a central.
Yeah, but instead of
whom in the team, it's either a 10 or a centre back.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
At times, we already look like we've got 7 in defence and 3 in attack. That would be 8 and 2, wouldn't it, if we went that way?
Yeah. Dave from Joe. Does McKenna need to stop tinkering the team every week to help get some consistency? You can give him a bit of a pass today. Are there any more 3-game weeks left this season?
We've got Man United on a Wednesday, so that must be a 3-game week.
That'll be the last one.
Unless we're still in the Cup March.
I think Bournemouth away is a midweek game as well.
Unless we're still in the Cup, I think March is only 2 games in the whole of March. Hopefully, obviously, we're still in the Cup.
But you don't blame him for. I mean, Joe was saying maybe there was one or two changes too many today. Potentially with hindsight.
I thought he might change perhaps 2 or 3 today. So I must admit I was surprised at 5 changes. But yeah, not surprising after just having played on Thursday. Really.
Is there a chance towards the end of the season, Joe, that you can ride the same starting 11 out for a 3-game week, or certainly not be making 5 changes?
Like I said, I just had a look at the fixtures, and the Man United game must be the midweek game must be with a cup game at the weekend, so that isn't a 3-game week. It's
not really. No.
2, and then the Bournemouth
Cup 5th round
comes after a cup game as well, or an international break. So I think we're okay to do it, and you'd like to think we're in a position where we're settled on an 11. That's what we've been so successful with in the last couple of seasons, settling on a team. We've had a really tough December and January the last 2 years, and then we've sort of settled on a team and managed to ride that through till the end of the season. And you hope we're in a position that we can do that. But I know what I think my strongest team is, but I don't know if Kieran McKenna agrees. And we are. It's just those partnerships at the back we've had, obviously, like Wolfenden and Greaves for the last few games, Wolfenden and Burgess for the games before that, and now it's O'Shea and Burgess, O'Shea and Greaves, O'Shea and Burgess, and it's like you hope that now we've got all the bodies back, we've got the personnel there, we've got 2 guys for that right-sided role in Godfrey and Tuanzebe, who are both now fit. We've got O'Shea and Wolfenden for the next one. We've got Greaves and Burgess for the next one, that we can just pick the 3 and settle into that. And as Ali Cat says, I think it is time.
Yeah, I think we covered that.
5. And in turn, also that doesn't help the goalkeeper situation either. Not playing.
Well, should we go on to the goalkeeper situation, Dave? Because Ben Mack says, "Will Christian Walton start the next match?" We were wrong about this with Muric. We assumed he would be in and stay there, and it changed. So I'm not going to answer that.
I mean, I don't think it was a case of a sort of shell-shocked day as such. Like I thought, he was. I think that Joe, we both agree, he was definitely at fault. I think for the 3rd goal, perhaps it was a soft one that went through him, and possibly his position for the last goal, but it was just a class goal. It was a class goal, I think, that one. But he can't. So he hasn't keep chopping. He can't just chop and change after 3 games. So I'd fully expect Walton to be in again on Saturday, I would have thought.
Yeah, you don't want to be changing your keeper multiple times, do you? That doesn't smell good. Joe, this one is from Jimmy. Is Philogene left side 10, or is he more utility? We seem pretty heavy on the left.
He seems to be recruited for the left side 10 role. Yeah. I guess there is an option that he can play the right sided role, but I think it's only playing it in the way that Amari does, sort of towards the end of a game. You might go across there and play him. I don't think you'd start him there.
Again, you look at him though. I mean, obviously he's a talented boy, but he's quite slight, isn't he? Not a lot to him. He's quite slight. Obviously, he's pacey and quick, but when you look at the Man City, I won't say it, Ben, wide player. Just again, the difference in stature is massive, isn't it?
Doku. Streaky. Broadhead has looked our most creative player in the last couple. What was the thinking today? Dave, does your answer need to start with pace and athleticism, as normally Broadhead gets very unfairly criticised for?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised because, again, I don't think he had the worst game against Brighton, did he, Joe? Certainly no. First half. I mean, yeah, certainly after Brighton scored the first on Thursday, I don't think I've ever seen a team shut down another team as well as they did. But I thought, again, he looked really lively again on Thursday, Broadhead. So again, I was slightly surprised that he wasn't in the starting 11 today.
Michael, I'll take this one. Play Jack Clark wide and keep him wide, or don't play him at all. No, it's not. They're not the only two options, and we've just not done that with any player in the McKenna era where they've kind of been indulged to that extent. And I trust the professor implicitly enough that he's bought if he's bought somebody in and identified them, then he'll be pretty sure that they can do ultimately what he's going to be asked to do. But we're not going to see him in the Man City left winger role, Dave.
To be fair to Romeo, he makes a very good point there. We already said about the 2 games in 4 days, and yeah, Broadhead, perhaps that was, given he has the injury issues he has had, perhaps 2 games in 4 would have been a stretch for him.
And he played the full 90 on Thursday.
He did, to be fair, Joe. You're right. He did play full 90. Yeah.
You'd imagine that was planned out for the right. Give me all the minutes on this one. Dave, stand down because Neil wants to hear from Joe. If Joe is doing his player rankings now, who has improved and regressed since his last review?
God, it's a tough one, isn't it? I don't think the ones we needed to improve, which is probably Jack Clark, Calvin Phillips, have probably progressed. They've probably stayed where they were. I think we'd have needed them to move on. I think Jens Kajus has moved on. I only looked at the new signing, so Jens Kajus has moved on. I think Liam Delap maybe goes from like an A to an A+. O'Shea I had high, but he's been really, really good since. And yeah, like sadly, the ones we needed to kick on haven't done so. And there's still time, but we need them to kick on soon, and we're running out of time.
What about the rest of the squad? I suppose Muric, being he's been dropped, would have to be a regression, wouldn't it? But Taylor would be a improvement, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but he's been a positive. But what does that do for us? He's only started 1 game.
Oh, I'm just answering the question.
Yeah, if you know what I mean. Like, obviously, it's good that Taylor's improved, but he's a sub, and you want your better players to improve, don't you? Your main starters.
Going back, I think Broadhead's been a positive. Broadhead coming in and showing what he's shown, I think, has definitely been a positive. I'm not just saying that for you, Ben, but yeah, no, he has been. I thought he's done really well.
And it's just we just need to get back to that fully fit squad, don't we? Of Smodics and Chaplin back as well, isn't there? And
I think personally, Smodics has been a miss in these last couple of games, don't you? Again, that I know you keep banging on about it, but he just gives you that bit more physicality, doesn't he?
I think we missed him on Thursday when Burns was putting those balls into the box. Somebody who's lively, trying to get the ball into the back of the net.
Yeah, amen. Good question, this one from Jack, Dave. How did we recover after we got smashed by Leeds last season? How do you assess our mental ability to recover from such a big defeat? And if you remember as well, there was the Cardiff one, which was probably, as Joe said about this one, when you know halfway through the game you're gonna lose. The Cardiff one was horrible because they scored twice in stoppage time and barely.
That one was.
But it's a good question, isn't it? And I think maybe what Jack's hinting at, Dave, is that there is form. I know at a lower level of these guys bouncing back from some horrible, and Maidstone as well.
I think we did have a bit of a wobble after that Leeds game. We did this a couple of weeks ago on the pod over last Christmas. We had those sort of 0-0 draws with Stoke and QPR, didn't we? So we had to say a wobble. It did sort of set us back a bit, but and I think pretty much we got the odd result, but through January, I think what got us back on track, if you remember after that Leeds game, was I think the win at Millwall, wasn't it? The 4-0 win at Millwall, wasn't it?
No, it was Sunderland at home, wasn't it?
Sunderland before that, and then we won 4-0 Valentine's Day, I think it was, at Millwall. So yeah, Sunderland, the Chaplin header. So I think we did have a bit of a dip after that, but look, I mean, it's just totally different getting stuff sitting. Okay, the manner of the defeat today, but as McKenna's quite right, arguably they've been one of the best team in the world for the last 10 seasons. Well, they won 4 titles on the trot, Champions League. Oh, for Christ's sake,
And Joe, to Jack's question, I after that Leeds game, what do you play? Like 5 games in 2 weeks in the Championship after Christmas. At least you're a bit more spaced out now, right? Joe, you're muted, mate.
Yeah. We said earlier, like we lost to Newcastle the other week 4-0, and that was a chasing defeat. We bounced back. We went to Arsenal, shut up shop, lost 1-0, and then had the Chelsea and the Fulham games after that where we picked up 4 points. And I'd imagine it'll be the same here. We're not going to go to Liverpool and try and outplay them at Anfield. We're going to go there and just try and keep that as tight as we possibly can for as long as we possibly can and see where we end up. But so I don't have any fears about the one game at a time mentality of this squad.
No.
We know how it works and what we're doing. It's just that Southampton game is just going to be absolutely massive for us, and not really for them because they're down, so that they don't have the pressure that we'll have on that. So it's really, really difficult.
Yeah.
Joe, we'll go to you on this one. Actually, we'll get both of you on this one. We'll go to Joe first. What do you think McKenna's preferred 3 behind the striker is? I'm scratching my head to figure out and where the surplus fit in. Rich and I had a good chat about this on the reaction show to Jaden Philogene signing. There's a lot of players in that in those available for those 3 positions, Joe.
I think on the left 10, it's going to be Jaden Philogene. On the right 10, it's Amari Hutchison. And on the right wing, it's going to be Ben Doak. I don't know. We're trying to drop 20 million plus on him. But at the moment, the problem is you've got Sammy Smodics or Jack Clark, expensive players on the left. But really, we're still choosing between Wes Burns and Ben Johnson on the right, aren't we? And because they're the players that can play that role. So we really, it does feel like we need somebody to fit that into that, like a Ben Doak or someone like that.
Yeah, I think those 2, Philogene and Hutchison, I think are probably nailed on there, aren't they?
This is just purely because of the fees.
Yeah, you think so, wouldn't you? Yeah.
I don't think it's fees because Jack Clark was 15 million and Sam Smodics was 9.
Yeah, but he's not.
And Smodics is the one that's playing. But Jaden Philogene, we've chased him for so long, and you saw briefly from him today what he looks like, and he is.
I'm sorry, I like Jack. I like Jack Clark, but he just hasn't shown anything, has he? He hasn't.
No, but I'm sure the guys in the chat will come up with examples of people that didn't look like a great signing.
I'm sure there is. I'm absolutely sure. But
he signed late on, didn't he? He signed after the Man City game last season. At the start of the season. So he missed all the pre-season. So hopefully we're still in the Premier League this time next year. And hopefully after the pre-season, he's gone in and been able to give it a full whack at getting himself ready.
Joe, there's great raw materials there with Jack Clark.
He could see it, but it just hasn't happened for him, has it? It just hasn't happened, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure it will. But yeah, today it just hasn't.
There you go. Some great questions in the chat as ever. I'm going to ask a question now that Richard and Seb, Dave, will explore on Thursday a bit more. How the hell do you come back off a 6-0 defeat and go, this is arguably the hardest game of the season, away at the runaway leaders, and Salah is, the world's best player this season essentially as well, isn't he? How the hell do you approach that game, mate?
Well, I guess like you approach, as Joe just said there, like you approach the Arsenal game after coming off a 4-0 home defeat at at Newcastle. You work hard, and it'll be all about shape, and at Anfield it'll just be all about team shape and discipline, won't it? And just digging in really, because it will be. But yeah, you just hope to have this a similar.
Are they playing in the Champions League as well then?
Yeah, they must be.
Yeah, but they're coasting it, aren't they?
They're already qualified.
Can they go to Siberia or something on Thursday at 11 p.m?
Sure, no, I'm not sure who they're. I'm not. Someone will tell us who they're playing. I'm not sure who they're playing, but they've won every single game, haven't they?
Yeah, Rochel, Alani, Vladi Kafkas away.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
just 20 miles from Tokyo.
Yeah, with no heaters on the pitch.
You just hope that,
no gloves allowed.
They go there with the same attitude, shape, and discipline that they showed at Arsenal. Really.
What's your view, Joe?
Yeah, same as Dave. Really on that one, you've just got to try and get out of that. Anything you get out of that is a bonus. Just almost like a 1-goal defeat.
Lille
is a bonus.
Home.
Lille at home, even Lille away would have been a soft one, wouldn't it?
Yeah, get the Eurostar, can't they? As a
Mo Salah on the Eurostar, driving in and swinging his car.
You're almost in a position where a 1-goal defeat is probably good just for goal difference, because I think somebody put in the comments with 25-1 to win there next week, so it is the biggest outsiders we've ever been. Yeah, I've just remortgaged the house. There. Better not tell my wife.
On that one.
Please gamble responsibly. 18 plus only. Terms and conditions apply. Dave, I get in trouble for these, but we've got to have a moment of reflection today. That if at any time in the first 7 years of the pod, if you'd said to us, right, you're going to get a double promotion, but you're going to lose 4-1 and 6-0 against Man City, we'd have all gone, where do I sign?
Bring it on. Yeah, you got to. Well. Hopefully, just think. Last time we played, given that we're playing at the weekend, last time we played Liverpool in the Premier League, we were 11-0 down on aggregate. So, given that they beat us 2-0 first game of the season, so anything's going to be an upgrade on that, surely, you know.
Dave, what are you saying that for?
No, it's
What's 11 minus 2 and our most famous
I said
scoreline?
exactly the same thing to Kieran, my lad, as they walked out the day. You look at him, you say, Christ, look, Haaland, De Bruyne, Foden. You think, oh man, you know, this is just incredible. Who'd have thought? You know, you'd have thought, okay, it must be a cup game or something. And if you'd have been, you know, out, asleep for 2 years or whatever, it is. You just got to take it for what it is and try and get every bit of enjoyment out you can. But it's a tough one when we've been so used these previous 2 seasons, been so used to so much success. It always was going to be tough.
Right, Joe, I need peak fares now. I need peak fares to end the podcast here. You've reframed the score 1 point more than Wolves thing. I love. Reframe, make me feel comfortable about a 6-0 defeat. Go, big picture.
As a team...
Not even Fairs can do that, Dave.
He can't do it.
He can't do it. We need President Trump to BS his way through this.
But as a team to try and finish 17th in the league, you're going to have days like this. It's unavoidable. A 17th, like I say, I've said about needing to get one more point than Wolves. If we had one more point this season, we would be in 17th place, and that is what we'd all take at the end of the season. And it's going to have days like this. You're going to get well beaten by people, and it is going to happen, and it is rubbish to watch. And it was one of the worst afternoons at Portman Road I've had. That sort of last half hour, just sitting there and watching it. But ultimately, we need one more point than Wolves this season, and it's been the most successful season that anyone could have wished for. And that's where we are. We're not going to go. We're not going to get relegated with a whimper. We're going to be there or thereabouts. And it's just a case of just trying to get over that line. And this is what Premier League football's about. And if you don't enjoy it, you're never going to enjoy it, because this is all it's going to be for a long time.
Just very quickly, you need to watch this week's Rewind show for some therapy, because we go all the way back, one of the games, to 30 years ago, 94-95 season, when we were in a far worse position than we were now. Adam Tanner, 1-0. Get on it.
And like when you look at Brighton, this team that we lost to on Thursday, and you think these are the model team that we want to get to. Their first 4 years in the Premier League, they finished between 15th and 17th, and they won 36 games in 4 seasons, and that's all they needed to do to stay up. And that's 36 games out of 140 matches. There's 100 out of their first 400 matches in their first 4 seasons they didn't win.
Rich, can you get some classical music going in the background while he's talking? Come on, I love this. Keep going, Joe.
Yeah. No, but that's what it's like. It's not fun. It's not like the last 2 seasons where we've picked up 200 points and scored 200 goals. You just need to do enough, don't you? And yeah, that is modern football. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I think he's done it, guys.
I think he's done it. I'm uplifted. I don't know about you.
Classic Fairs. There you go. So let's all make a promise here that we never speak of this ever again, unless it's to say, oh, remember when we lost 6-0 and how down we were after that. Guys, thank you so much. I realise it's supposed to be fun watching football, and it's really not fun when you lose 6-0. So hopefully we've tried to frame it in the best way possible. And maybe I'll give you permission, maybe skip the first 56 minutes of the pod and just listen to Joe Fair's speech at the end with maybe not even some rousing classical music, maybe some classic rock or some hair metal or something behind it. I think that'll get you really pumped up. David Diamond, last word from you.
Fucking Doku.
Joe Fairs, last word from you.
Bring on Liverpool.
Yeah, get lost, Doku. See you later.